listener production. Hello, welcome to this episode of The Briefing. I'm Sasha Barbagat. Whether you're in Bondi or Lorne, Noosa or Glenelg, chances are you've spotted a cool cabana or two or 50 dotting the sand at your favourite beach. Yep, the humble open-sided tent has exploded in popularity since its launch in the summer of 2015, with the hopes of offering some shady respite to people as they enjoy a day by the water. But this year, just like many before it, a heated debate has been raging about their place on Aussie beaches. Flying the flag this year is TikToker Guncle Diaries, who has gone viral for throwing shade, pun intended, at CoolCabanas.
CoolCabanas, too much space occupied. You should be charging for that space. Here I am with my humble towel, and these cabana bitches, they occupy the whole beach.
While it's all a bit of fun, should we really be bitching about something designed to protect us from skin cancer when 2 in 3 Aussies will be diagnosed with some form of the disease in their lifetime? Today, we've managed to secure the man behind CoolCabanas himself to hear his take on the debate. And we also chat later with Guncle Diaries, the creator going viral on TikTok for his hate of the beach shelter. Joining me first, Mark Fraser, the founder of CoolCabanas, who's quite elusive and hard to get a hold of. Mark, thank you so much for speaking to us on The Briefing today. Look, this debate is nothing new, but it is in the spotlight again. It's even made headlines overseas, and I have to ask, are you surprised by the fuss your humble product has created?
Surprised by the fuss? I mean, the whole thing's been surprising, to be honest. I mean, the growth and expansion and, how everyone's adopted it. So that's marvellous. Yes, this time of year, summer, it's like, why is this, hitting the news? And it's like it's a quiet time in the news. Everyone's looking for something to, talk about. And yeah, it is a talking point and it's been interesting. And I have sort of shied away from the media, it's just like, this year, of course, it's all about these, absent CoolCabanas just being set up and left there. Overall, I think it's great. And I think it's great because what it's doing is, there is a debate going on about shade, and any debate about shade and the benefits of shade for melanoma is good in my opinion. I could take things personally. The company who go, that's, it's not quite right, but I'm very happy to let it fly and let people talk about it. But I was on the beach over Christmas at Noosa. It was crowded, but still plenty of room around every CoolCabana, and I walk up and down, and yes, there's some absent CoolCabanas or vacant CoolCabanas, but, those people are off buying something to eat or swimming in the water, in my opinion. So maybe there might be a tiny percentage of people that set up and go away for an hour or two, but I don't know how you'd stop that.
Why did you invent CoolCabana? Like, what was the inspiration behind it? Obviously, shade on the beach, but why specifically that design and why, at that time?
I'm an architect and I have designed a few products and won design awards, in New Zealand and Australia for those products. And the products that I tend to bring to market are ones that, to me, is sort of there's an obvious need for. I talk about a pain point. And sitting on the beach at Noosa one day, as I did, back in the day when you had the pop-up springy things that no one could ever pack up and put away, and they ended up in the bin, and it was sort of quite comical. And you'd have people sitting there holding an umbrella, shading in the wind, and it's like, you think of the whole environment of that situation where I sort of feel for a lot of people because it's the time of the year when their bodies are somewhat exposed or in a vulnerable environment at a time, setting up a shelter, everyone's looking at them. There's all these sort of nuances that come into play, and I was sitting there one day and on a beach chair, and I just literally kept flattening out the sand, and I would draw in the sand and kind of work out what I wanted in terms of beach shelter, and I came up with the concept pretty quickly. And that just revolves around having a centre pole and then the 4 sandbags that anchor it down in tension. So that was the product, and I thought, okay, this, could fly. I actually made one, had one made up and tested it over a summer, took it to Bondi Beach and around Australia and tested it in some pretty heavy winds. And it worked, had some interest. So I thought, okay, let's produce some and see what happens. So I did.
What does it feel like to you when you see these images? I mean, obviously the controversy is silly and overblown, and people in Australia love to have an argument about beach etiquette and who deserves what. But at the end of the day, when you're, scrolling your social media feed or the news articles, I saw this story on the BBC this week, like it's everywhere. What is that feeling you get when you see your product all over the sand? Is it one of pride? Are you happy? Are you surprised?
Proud, I'm happy, yeah. Absolutely, I'm happy and proud. I think the biggest thing for me, and through this whole debate, even my wife showed me a photo of Noosa Beach taken, I think, in the 70s, crowded with people sitting on towels. There was only a few on beach umbrellas. But, since my involvement with CoolCabanas, yes, it started off as a product for, I designed it primarily for young parents to be able to use and make it easy, and I've achieved that. But through the journey and through melanoma, I've learned a lot more about melanoma. So when I say I'm proud, I'm like, yeah, okay, you guys are getting it. This is smart. This is a preventable cancer, and I think we are making a real change. The statistics, pretty scary, 1,300 deaths in Australia every year. In the US, there's 8,500 every year. The US spend $8 billion on melanoma healthcare. In Australia, it's $2 billion. So it's not an insignificant thing, and it's so easily prevented.
Tell me about when you decided to team up with the Melanoma Institute. Was that something that came much later for you, where you went, you just spoke about the fact that initially it was to make it easy for families to be able to head to the beach and have some shade. But as time's gone on, you've recognised, well, hey, actually this product and products like it are all about helping tackle the incredibly high rates of skin cancer in this country. Is that what was behind the decision to team up with melanoma?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a brief lead up to that. You'll recall, everyone in Australia will recall the bushfires of, was it 2018? So, we gave a donation towards that. But to me, it was a bit soulless. It was like, okay, I've just given some money to, a charity, and goodness knows what they'll do with it, literally. More tempting for us to drive down and actually do something constructive. But anyway, we did that. So I sort of felt that was a bit disappointing. And then, of course, it's a nice fit. Melanoma, CoolCabanas, we're on the same journey, so why not? I don't know if you're aware, there was a recent documentary that came out, Conquering Skin Cancer, where, I talk about my sort of journey and journey for CoolCabanas, and along with other people like Hugh Jackman. I consider myself just like a typical Aussie bloke, or, Kiwi bloke or whatever. Skin cancer to me was like, okay, you get a mark on your skin. If it grows, something happens there, then go and get cut off. No big deal. What I hadn't realised, and what I do know now, is that those cells, if they get, grow to become more than 1 millimetre below your skin surface, then get into your bloodstream. And then it's all over. That's cancer cells in your bloodstream, right through your body. It doesn't matter where it goes, lungs, your bones, wherever, brain. It's all come from melanoma, which could have been prevented.
I want to quickly return to the controversy before we let you go. Is there a tiny part of you that feels bad for people who are genuinely upset by the fact that their patch of sand has been taken up by an empty CoolCabana, or do you find it funny?
No, I don't. Look, I don't find it funny. I still say, is it actually an issue? Because when I walk along the beach, I'm not seeing vacant CoolCabanas, or very rarely. And I just know that if you sit there and watch that CoolCabana, the people will return, they'll come out of the water or, back from whatever. And I think you got to look at also the people that are blowing it up, the influencers. I mean, CoolCabana's a hot topic. These guys like to chime on because it's a way to increase their followers and get some sort of recognition, guys on TV and all the rest of it as a result of CoolCabanas and claiming something and having a bit of fun, which is cool. But are they my true customer? Perhaps when they have children and, the circumstances change, they'll be like,
I see the point in this product now. Well, I was going to ask you, we spoke to Gunkel Diaries, who is, I would say, probably behind the re-energised debate in Australia this year. He had a video go viral. I think it had over 1 million views. Have you had your people reach out to him at all to, have a deeper conversation, maybe offer him a free cabana to be like, hey, try it out for yourself?
Yes, he's actually reached out to us along with a couple of others. And, I don't know whether they're almost sort of apologising for what they've done, but, we don't need an apology. And, yeah, we are talking to them to do something constructive because, they have a following, something's happened there. And I think it'd be nice to finish it off with a bit of a, super satirical take on what they've done. And, we've got an idea there. So hopefully that'll come to fruition in the next few weeks, maybe on Australia Day, we'll see.
Summer 2025-26, are you hoping maybe this is the final year that we see this conversation spring up, or do you think it'll go on for time immemorial and we'll never hear the end of it?
Look, it's been pretty much a regional journey. You know, when when I started CoolCabanas, I started in southeast Queensland in Australia, you know, and it hit the news in southeast Queensland. A couple of years later, it was New South Wales, Victoria. So we've still got South Australia and West Australia to go. So we'll see.
It's not over yet. All right, at least 2 more summers of it. Mark Fraser, CEO of CoolCabanas, thank you so much for your time today. We do appreciate you making the space to have a chat to us.
Cheers.
So with all that said, what does the creator behind this year's controversy have to say about it all? Joining me now is Guncle Diaries. He's also known as Nick. Thank you so much for being here in studio with me today. Let's start with the obvious. Why are you such a vocal CoolCabana hater?
I think for me, the biggest thing is the space that's being occupied. You know, a couple of years ago, you would rarely see them. And now it just seems like they're in herds and it's like a property development. They occupy the whole bloody space and the whole beach. It's crazy.
The debate around CoolCabanas isn't new. It has been popping off. I feel like though you are flying the flag this year. You're the 2024-2025 summer CoolCabana hater and you're getting us all talking about again. Now, the video has sparked a heap of commentary online, obviously. People are using your sound to make their own videos, hating on CoolCabanas.
Yes, my lawyer, Gina Liano, is on the case. I just want to make that very clear as well.
I've got to ask, are you just anti-sun protection? Like, do you listen to other sun protection messaging? Obviously, the reason people get these is to get out of the sun on the beach. Of
course.
So you anti-sun protection?
Not at all, not at all. Obviously, I grew up with the messaging slip, slop, slap. So
Yes.
I want to make sure that that is also very clear that I'm definitely not anti-sun protection at all. I think this is probably where a lot of the messaging is being misconstrued in my video. And this is a little exclusive for you. Many years ago, I actually had a melanoma scare.
Really?
Yeah.
What happened?
So I had a routine checkup. I was checking all of my moles and freckles, and unbeknownst to me, I actually had a precancerous melanoma on my forehead and on my ear as well, which had to be cut out. But that was quite scary because, you know, when you think of melanoma, you think someone that's lived a little and they get it later on in life. You don't think, you know, in your early 20s, that's something that you necessarily should be thinking about. So, yeah, that was a very scary moment for me.
And so has that then, you know, impacted how you've gone about being out in the sun as you've gotten older as well?
Definitely. And I will admit this, I, for many years after, was really scared to go to the beach. I was really scared to lay out in the sand, in the sun. It became a bit of a phobia, to be honest with you. And it wasn't until recent years that I built up the confidence again to start going to the beach, really laying on thick the sunscreen and really being, you know, a big advocate for sun protection. So the video was tongue in cheek. And I think, you know, there's 2 different messaging here in that video. And for me, it was more about the space as opposed to sun safety.
I want to ask about the etiquette side of it in all seriousness, because I think that's what people get riled up at with the CoolCabanas is like, I come down to the beach, I'm here to enjoy one of our most beautiful assets in Australia, which is the coastline. And, you know, people will set their, whether it's a CoolCabana or something else, they'll set up in front of me or, you know, because they come down with a CoolCabana, they take up all this extra room and they encroach on my enjoyment of the day. Do you think Aussies are just lovers of their own personal space? Like, is that part of what gets people so riled up where they're just like, can you leave me alone? I just want some peace at the beach today.
I think so. And I think admittedly so, we are so protective over our beaches as well and our space. So I think definitely yes. And I used this analogy so perfectly the other day, and I'm going to use it today as well. It's like, you know, going to a restaurant that you've been waiting to go to and it's the most popular restaurant. I'm going to one actually next week that I'm super excited about.
Me too.
It might be the same one. It's like, you know, making a reservation. You've been waiting to go there for ages and then you don't turn up. I kind of look at it in the same way as well. You know, space is a precious thing. And I think when, you know, the summer holidays were a great example of that. Everybody's off. Everybody's got time off. I think it's fine to be in a cabana, sure. But I think if you're not going to occupy the space, do the right thing and give the space to someone who will take full use of it, you know, in a sense. So,
Well, actually, I want to talk about that because the Prime Minister came out to back your stance on the fact that these structures can be a bit land grabby. Let's listen to what he had to say.
One of the great things about Australia, unlike some parts of the world, you go and you've got to pay to go to the beach.
I know.
Here, everyone owns the beach. Everyone. And it's a place where every Australian is equal. And that's a breach of that principle, really, to think that you can reserve a little spot as just yours.
So what's your take on the PM supporting you on this?
That's wild. Well, look, looking is for free, and he obviously likes what I'm talking about. So if he wants me on his team, I'm happy to do his PR work.
It's a federal election this year.
Well, there you go. Get Guncle Diaries on the case. I'm happy to. Look, I think it's much of what I've been saying. There's an element of truth in that you are occupying space, and it's a privilege to be on the beach, and we're lucky because in Europe they charge, all of that sort of stuff. So it's about being conscientious about the world around you and not just really thinking about yourself. It's such an interesting topic because so many people are so divided over this, and it seems to have been so divisive as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, who is right, who is wrong? We may never know. We may never know.
Look, before we let you go, you like to come for brands. You've done it to Camilla. You actually got free shorts out of it.
I did.
Very impressive. So is this all just part of your plan to get a free CoolCabana?
Well, at this point, I've given them 1 million views in views. Cabana, where's my cabana?
You haven't heard from them at all?
I haven't heard. You know what's actually the funniest part of this? I think I've heard from every other swimwear brand, lotion, eyewear, nothing from CoolCabanas.
Nick at Guncle Diaries, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Doll.
That was TikToker Guncle Diaries and the founder of CoolCabanas, Mark Fraser, speaking to me earlier there. And that is all for this episode of The Briefing. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this ep, why not share it with someone you think might enjoy it too? We'll be back tomorrow with a new season of The Weekend Briefing. And on tomorrow's ep, Antoinette is joined by Eddie Deline. He's a property mogul who went from Centrelink to owning over $90 million worth of real estate.
How many properties do you now own?
Over 100. I don't know the exact number, but over 100. It was 106, 107, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, that's wild. It's amazing and impressive. Do you think that boy in Wilmot would believe that you're sitting here today owning 100 properties?
A big thanks to the Briefing team for all their hard work this week. Chris Spiru, Bension Siebert, Jessica Wukyanov, Helen Smith, Matt Curry and Chris Marsh. I'm Sasha Barbagat. See you next time.